round 6 Super Rugby Pacific. Kicking us off on Friday, we had Moana Pacifica taking on the Highlanders at Mount Smart Stadium. I think this kind of went as expected. I forget our tips, but the Moana went down 17-45 to the Highlanders. They were in the game. It's the same old story every week with Moana. They were in the game really until about the 51st minute, and then the Highlanders kind of just absolutely ran away with it, bagging themselves quite a few tries. So similar story every week. The Moana just can't seem to deliver an 80-minute performance. For me, the big points in this one, there was a yellow card to Jonah Lowe that was given by our best mate Ben O'Keefe and then overturned because of some very strong protests by Captain Billy Harmon. So very well done from him. The only other things I had from this one was that the Highlanders bench were absolutely firing. Folau Fakatava came on, and it's some of the best footy we've seen from him in a while. He was instrumental setting up a few tries.
Clearly a benchy. That's what he is, mate. He does that so well.
True. Although I guess if anyone's coming on the last 20 minutes against Moana, you're going to look good, though, to be honest. It just feels like that's the way of the game. But no, and then the only other point I wanted to make before I throw it to you guys was just Ethan de Groot. I've never really been that big a fan, particularly since he talked smoke about he could take on Taniela Tupou back in the day. But he had an absolutely massive game. He was just absolutely smashing the physicality, both on D and some carries into some really big Moana physicality. And he was coming off best in all of his carries and tackles. So it was really, really good from him. I was pretty impressed.
He's been good for a while, Ethan de Groot. I definitely rate him. He's just young. He's very cocky. That Tupou chap was very, very, very early for where he was in his career. But yeah, he's a very good prop.
He's a good young Aussie prop. He is. Yep.
Yeah, he is. And Nelson, I was just going to say, I thought Sean Withy might be one you've had your eye on, because I think he's one to watch. He's made very good with all these opportunities he's got with Marino and Shannon Frizzell out, but I think he's got really like a Michael Hooper-esque engine on him. So I don't know if he's taken your fancy.
He's popping up all around the field. He's really good.
Very good. I didn't talk much about the Highlanders, but they just really unleashed, and the usual suspects there. It was nice to see Marino Michele too and Shannon Frizzell back. But any last points on the Landers Moana from you guys, or we can move on?
Move on.
Giddy.
The Reds versus the Crusaders. The Reds went down 12-25 in Queensland. I think it was a big game for them to try and get up and start to turn their season around. I thought it was a massive game from the back row, from the Reds in particular. I thought that Harry Wilson and Fraser McBride played very, very well. Easily the best game of the season for Tate McDermott as well. And it was interesting to see Isaac Henry, who had obviously slotted in at 12 behind Pai Sami, kicking a goal. His first two were atrocious. Only probably equaled by Bowden Barrett in his game, which I'm sure we'll get to. But they just looked like he'd never kicked a ball before. So obviously a few nerves there, but he did grow into the game and looked pretty good. The other player for the Reds that I would point out is James O'Connor. I don't think he made the best decisions. He kicked the ball away a few times where it made no sense. They didn't take a shot at goal when it made a lot of sense. Like, he just made some odd decisions and probably didn't show the poise that we want from an experienced fly half. So I think he definitely hurt his chances of being selected for the Wallaby squad in that one. On the flip side, I thought the Crusaders were actually kept pretty quiet, with the exception of Lester Faingaranuku, who was just doing whatever the hell he wanted. Just unbelievable, still going from strength to strength to strength. And it was about that time that I thought that my fantasy round was in doubt, but then Cargie realised he had no other players. That was it for me, really. I thought Tamati Williams was very good. Scored maybe got ruled out his try, but he looked very, very good as well. I thought in fantastic form, and there was a bit of a controversial try to Willie Hines as well, but in general, nothing. I didn't think it was too bad. What do you guys think?
Do you remember that one, Nels? It was just that I think Tamati Williams was kind of slowly pushed over the line, and then the ball was pushed back, and Willie Hines just put his hands down on it and it was on the line. So it was kind of like, I don't know. To me, it seemed fine, but they really blew up about it.
The big thing is there's no offside line, right? So what the Reds needed to have realised is if the rock's gone past the line, they can just come around. Yeah. So I think it was fair. They just cleaned out well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. You got anything else?
The following match after this one was the Ndrua taking on the Rebels, getting a win at home, 38-28. The Drew just came out firing in this one. The home field advantage is really tangible for them, and they were up by 24 points at one stage. The Rebels managed to work their way back into the game. I think a lot of that was, they're a relatively fit side, but their bench did a lot for them as well. They had Pony, they had Abus Ilof coming off the bench. They had the Romanian Rumbler. What's his name in the centers? The Romanian Rumbler, Feliuai. He was pretty good as well. But most of all, Andrew Kellaway, he just was absolutely brilliant for mine off the bench. He came in that second half, just absolutely all guns blazing, thinking he had this one chance to get himself in that Wallabies squad. He scored himself a try. He set up a try as well. Lots of opportunities.
Who are you talking about as the Romanian Rumbler?
David
Stacey Healy and Reece Hodge. Which one's the Romanian Rumbler?
The third one, Harry, the guy I mentioned, his name.
David Feluai? Is that who we're talking about?
Should he be on the field?
The guy that played... I was talking about reserves, Harry.
Oh, who cares about them?
Give up. Keep up, mate.
I like him, I like Feluai.
So do I.
Yeah, Andy Rumbler. Kellaway, there was some of the best, minutes I've seen him play. Just absolutely, balls to the wall stuff from him. He did an absolute cracking kick. Basically, I think it was from his own 22 to the opposition 22 as well. And he looked really, really good. But further in Drua, Iosefa Marcy was just as good as he has ever been. How do you leave that guy out of the centres? He is too good. He is literally phenomenal. And Ravitumanda had a really, really solid game for them as well. Penny Matavalu, he smashed someone twice his size. He's performing, really well for their bench halfback as well. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, that was after Frank Lamani was ruled out before the game. Cool. Yeah, that was a fun game to watch. And the drill with another win in Fiji. But this took us to the next one, the biggest match, what I thought was going to be the biggest match of the round, which was the Chiefs and the Blues, probably two front runners for the competition. And the Chiefs won this 20-13, which meant that they have won their first 6 straight to start a season for the first time in their history. So that was pretty big and pretty nice to wrap that up before their bye next week. This game was huge. This game was in the balance right until the very end. I think it went to about 82 minutes, and the Blues were just hammering away at the Chiefs' try line, but the Chiefs just held strong. It was pretty incredible. I think, some of the stats, like the Chiefs absolutely defied, all of the stats, possession, positions, everything. I think that they made 170 tackles to 74. I think the Blues had double the run meters, the carries, the penalty count. The only thing the Chiefs really had on them was they made 6 turnovers to 1. So, yeah, this was a huge game. And the Chiefs, I guess, just really capitalized on their opportunities. And it was really, it was really cool to see some of the big matchups with all the outside backs particularly. But, for mine, the talking point, I guess, was Imoni Narawa just continuing to absolutely tear it up. He bagged himself 2 tries, including like an awesome finish for that first try with a kick through in the first 20 seconds or whatever it was. It's amazing that Etene Nanai Saturo is kind of the outside back we're not even talking about in the back 3 after Shooter and Narawa are just so good at the moment. So crazy from them. Harry alluded to earlier, Beauden Barrett just had an awful first 20 minutes, really. His first 2 kicks at goal, he missed, like, they looked god awful. Looked like Harry would have a better chance of slotting them, to be honest. But he just looked a little rattled for Beauden. You can't really say that it's like the occasion got to him or anything. It's bloody Beauden Barrett. He's played the biggest games, there are. But just didn't look up to it. So I mean, he eventually got better throughout the game. But I don't know, the Blues' strategies, they just kicking for touch the entire game instead of taking the points. And they combined with that and the missed goals, they just didn't get to win this game. So it was pretty good. That was, but that's the Chiefs Blues.
Yeah, I think the big one was Papali'i, I think it was afterwards saying like, oh yeah, like probably should have looked back at how I made those decisions. They were terrible. I don't know if that was a tactic, but they were horrendous. Why would you not take points in a big game like that? It was just, yeah, it was so confusing watching it. Everyone was thinking the same thing. They blew that the Blues. I feel like they could have stolen it, but pun intended, they blew it. The Brumbies versus the Tars. The Brums got up 40-36 in an absolute Barry John cracker. It was down in Canberra. None of us could make it, sadly, although we all wanted to be there. The Tars came out firing 14-0 up, and it could well have been 21-0. There was that long break where Feketi ran what looked like about 230 metres. Corey Toole chased him down. The big thing for me was not only, they eventually tackled him and it was an amazing defence from the Brumbies. Ikitau made the cover tackle on Parisi and immediately got up and stole the ball and drew a penalty. But Feketi, number one, should have just backed himself rather than looking around. Although he was losing a little bit of pace. But also, Corey Toole just was nowhere near as fast as I thought he would be. The way that Feketi wasn't flying, and I thought Toole would have taken him at about half the pace that he did.
I think this is probably harsh. I think Feketi was relatively quick and Toole managed to catch him. I don't think they were both slow. You know, like I think they were slow.
I agree with Harry. I think Tools looked fast. Tools looked faster before. We've seen him absolutely light it up in his acceleration before. But for Feketi, should have backed himself. I think Toole would have tackled him, but he would have fallen over the line. He would have made it.
Yeah, I agree.
And push himself forward.
No, even if he just kept running and got tackled from behind, he had enough momentum to get there. But
the Brumbies scrum was a really interesting battle all night. The Brumbies just dominated constantly. I think HJH off for a yellow card, and then immediately Boffa comes in, and within about 2.5 minutes sent for a yellow card as well. We'll get to his impact, but let's just say he's not going to win the Players' Favourite award tonight in the fantasy wrap-up. But they were just so incredibly dominant. Marky Mark as well, mate. He led in a try and then went the other way to the chip and chase and kind of blew the game back open and gave the Tars a chance late as well with a brilliant solo try. And the takeaway for me was that the Tars had the game to win. They looked the better side. They had put so much pressure on the Brumbies, but when it came down to those last few minutes, there was a kickoff from Debrasini. It was a fantastic short kickoff. Ned Hannigan knocks it on. Brumbies get the ball. They work their way into the half. Tars do their best to hold out. Finally get a turnover and boot it out. And Donaldson kicks it out in the full and gives them the ball back inside the 22 again, which eventually led to the Brumbies winning the game with a try. And it just had this era of inevitability that the Brumbies were going to come out on top. It was they're just such a class team. They're so composed and they never looked too stressed when they went behind. And the Tars, as good as they were, just weren't quite good enough. And I left that game as a massive Tars fan, really just excited for Australian rugby. It was just the class of this game. I personally think it was much better than the quality of the Crusaders versus Blues. I heard a few people saying, that was test match quality. This was test match quality. I think this was the best game of the year. Some dodgy defence, but I thought the attack was phenomenal.
Yeah, this was an absolute cracker. Watch it if you have not watched it already.
For sure.
The final match of the week was the Hurricanes winning this one 45-42 in an 87-point cracker. One of the biggest things for me was the Force have shown that they are a fit side and they can play 84, 85 minutes if they need to. And they scored right in that, 84th, 85th minute to get this within touch, get themselves a bonus point, which was well fought. But there was a couple of things out of this one. Manasseh Mete was a late change for Tony Pulu. Harry's been asking for this guy to be around for the last few weeks. And I don't know who drafted the notes. I had to delete it, but someone said he could have been the player of the match and he was not even remotely close. But he did do some positive things. That was you, Cargie, clearly. He did do some positive things. The set piece, the scrum was very solid for the Canes. Lineouts they scored off, but also it was a little bit shaky at times, their lineout. They lost quite a few of their own. But geez, I think it was mid 90% rucks. I think they lost 3 rucks throughout the whole match. So their forwards were really something that they built off in this one. The yellow card himself, the human yellow card, what's his name in the centres.
Griffey.
He had 5 turnovers. This was one of the best games I've ever seen him play. And
himself a try as well, didn't he? I think.
Yeah, he bagged himself a try, and geez, he looked pumped about it as well. He's going, geez, it's only taken me 7 years, but I'm starting to fulfill some of the promise people thought I had. Surely you start Sullivan every single week. Godfrey has a big future from fullback. Naholo over Sevilla in my eyes at the moment. Kiribiji, that guy has wheels. He can challenge Toole in a race. He is quick. But yeah, this is the one last thing I think maybe out of the force, other than them never giving up, was Jeremy Williams. I'm a big fan of Jeremy Williams. This young Waratahs contingent heading across, and New South Welshman's heading across to the force is doing well. And you combine him with the 6 as well. Who am I thinking of, Harry?
You're thinking of Anstey, but Kalapu was excellent as well. I thought the way those two players combined, they're just a perfect partnership. Kalapu's got that physical presence, Williams a bit more versatile, a bit more agile, and then their line-out accuracy is excellent as well. They're playing so well in a team that, in my eyes, was well beaten. And let's be honest, they were down 45-21 with 9 minutes to go. They scored 3 converted tries. That's the point where the Hurricanes had given up. They don't care anymore. So great work, Force. You didn't give up. That's about all it means to me. Yeah, I thought the locks in particular very impressive.
Yeah, for sure. Jeremy Williams was making some amazing carries the entire game. So I'm
a big fan.
I don't know why we let him go at the Tars, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not like we need locks or anything, but that's fine.
Yeah, that's right.
Sweet as. All right, well, that wraps up the game. So let's just have a quick look at the fantasy stats. So fantasy man of the week was none other than Yosefa Masi with 88 points for the Fijian Drua. He bagged himself a try, 101 run meters off 13 carries, 2 line breaks, 9 tackle busts, and 3 offloads. Just was into absolutely everything. Was awesome. And then, notables, fine. We'll give the stats as well, almost. But James Slipper, 86 points. So he had an absolute blinder. And, you should have seen the way for his try, the way he hit that line, he looked like he'd been an inside centre for his entire career. You know what I mean?
100%.
He hit that with pace for a front rower. But very good from him.
He should have scored 3, mate. How about his dive over, a little knock on? I thought he was outstanding. The best game I can remember from him.
Yeah, ball in hand for sure.
Wallabies captain currently, so we'd expect nothing less. Huge game. And then Duplessis Karifi, the human yellow card, as we talked about, 85 points. Nos Lonergan, 74. Braden Iose, regretting not picking him up. I had a feeling I should have picked him up. 73 points. And Dane Coles, the old man, still going at it. 73 points, looking like he was playing in the backs out there for the Hurricanes.
The super sub for this week was Jake Strawn. He came in and he played centres through, I think, pretty much all of this one. He had one cracking kick from inside his own 22. I'm pretty sure it went to like 5 meters out in the opposition. This guy has a whopping kick. Didn't get him many points though, but he got 45 points off the bench, which is a good outing for him.
Captain Mudd this week as well. I did allude to it before. Dan Botha from the Tars, minus 12 points. Came on, got a yellow card for not being good enough at a scrum. And then later on in the match, they brought him on in like the 72nd minute again and maybe got him another minus 2 points once he took the field then. So not a great game.
The worst part of it is that he came on. He probably then got penalised 2 or 3 times at the scrum and then got yellow carded for being shit at the scrum.
Controversial.
It was. I'm surprised he didn't get a worse score, to be honest. But
it's controversial, but South Africans still destroying Super Rugby. Just from the inside.
just in case any was still listening to the pod, Nelson's just making sure that we
just want to know if any South Africans are listening, because they'll blow up at that for sure.
Please just at Nelson on Twitter. Just at Nelson though, not at Draft Rugby. Don't come after us, just come after Nelson.
He doesn't speak for us.
All right. Well, excellent. That's our preview of our quick review, very quick review of round 6.